Okay, so part 2 of the notes for lesson 2-2. We're still finding domain, x-intercepts, and y-intercepts. Okay, here the domain is going to be restricted because we have the division. We know that the denominator cannot equal 0 from the notes up above, so x minus 5 cannot equal 0, which means x cannot equal 5. So we can write this as in the notation of all reals, right, except x cannot equal 5. Or if you like the other interval notation where you say negative infinity to 5, union with 5 to infinity. Okay, either one of those is good notation. Okay, on the x-intercepts, we're going to do the same thing. G of x is our y, so we're going to replace it with 0. And then we have 3x over x minus 5. All right. Whenever I have fractions, okay, that's what I'm going to look at this as being, I go ahead and multiply by the denominator so that it clears out. What I do to one side, I do to the other. So now I have 0 equals 3x. And we divide by 3, so x would have to be 0. Okay, which gives us the coordinate 0, 0. Okay, so on the y-intercept, now x is 0. So we replace g of x with y, and we say 3 times 0 over 0 minus 5. Well, 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 5 is negative 5. Division tells us that's going to be 0, which means our y-intercept is 0, 0 as well. Okay. All right. So now we have h of x equals the square root of x plus 4. Square roots, looking back up at my notes, has to be greater than or equal to 0. So the square root of x plus 4, well actually, pardon me, not the square root, just x plus 4 has to be greater than or equal to 0. So x has to be greater than or equal to negative 4, which notation-wise we can say it's all reals except x equals negative 4, or we can say we go from we go from negative 4 to infinity. Okay? Alright, so the x-intercepts, again, we replace h of x with 0, and we get x plus 4 square root. To remove the square root, we square both sides. So we still get 0 equals x plus 4. So x equals negative 4. All right. I'm going to do a quick check, make sure that actually works back in the original, right? Because whenever we start squaring, we sometimes get extraneous roots. So if I put negative 4 here, I get 0. The square root of 0 is 0. So it does indeed work. So negative 4, 0 is my x-intercept. Y-intercept, and then we're going to replace h of x with y, and we're going to replace x with 0. So 0 plus 4 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. So our coordinate is 0, 2. And those are my 3 answers. Not even on the screen. I'm not even on the screen for that whole thing. That's perfect. Okay. Well, hopefully you heard my words and now you can see what I wrote down. Okay. X plus 4 greater than or equal to 0. We solved for x, which means that the domain is from negative 4 to infinity. Negative 4 is included. Replaced h of x with 0. We solved for x and got negative 4, comma 0. Okay, here we replaced x with 0, solved and got 2, so the coordinate for the y-intercept is 0, comma 2.